So this week, we had Vincenzo release and Sisyphus release, but what catches my attention is Hello Me. That's what I'll be recapping right now. Hello Me, episode 1 and 2. Okay, so this is not exactly a recap because I'm not very good with summaries. If you want that, go to Asian Wiki or My Drama List. But if you want an overview of the episodes, that's this video. So let's start with Banhani. Played by Jae Kang-hee. Banhani is really sad. Like, she is very, very pathetic. She is your typical candy construct. This actually really works well because while in the first half of the first episode, you're kind of like, yeah, wow, Banhani's life is really crap. She works in this supermarket wearing this squid costume, selling snacks, and then gets accused by a random mama of poisoning her child who had come and grabbed some free snacks from her stand, and then she has to go crying and apologizing because otherwise she'll get fired. It's a really crappy life. She doesn't get paid enough. She's a contract worker. She's set up on this blind date by her autocratic sister, and the guy clearly thinks that she is not hot stuff because she doesn't have any savings. She's 37 years old and doesn't even have a full-time job. So yeah, all of these things are happening. And you're like, okay, I mean, the Jae Kang-hee I love is the mystery queen or even, the spy from Good Casting. But okay. And then it all makes sense when you meet the younger Banhani, played by Lee. This kid, as Banhani, the older one, would say, is the most obnoxious girl you've ever met. She's so full of herself, it's kind of cute. This kid, through a certain type of magic, ends up in the real world, and then 37-year-old Banhani, who is at her most pathetic in her entire life, she's feeling so crappy about herself, she would actually be fine if she just died. And then she meets her younger self, at her most confident, at the peak of her life, pretty much, this 17-year-old girl who had the world before her. Everybody in her school loved her, either wanted to be her friend or date her. The only people who were not super impressed with her were probably her mom, because, well, she's a mom, and her older sister, because she had been living in the shadow of her pretty talented younger sister for far too long. And so this version, the 17-year-old version, meets the 37-year-old version, and they could not be more different. This is actually conflict I really like, because who hasn't thought as an adult, having realized that the world is harder than we had imagined, having made certain compromises with your dreams, and also having evolved. Like, we don't always have the same dreams. Sometimes your dreams change and they become smaller than what you have set out with, and you're not unhappy. But yeah, your 17, 18-year-old self would definitely judge you for having settled, which is why this works. I don't know, it really works for me. And in all of this mess, you also have Han Yoo-hyun, played by Kim Yong-kwon. Do you remember this guy from Secret Life of My Secretary? Dominic, the guy who couldn't recognize faces? Yeah, this is that actor. And I have to say, the cute chaebol boy character really works for him. Eventually, he might graduate to play other characters, but for now, he's cute. His entire thing is he's 30 years old. He has like 80 different professional licenses because he never really wanted to do a day's hard work, but he's happy to learn new skills. So he has licenses for like scuba diving and riding horses, cooking different types of dishes, but he's never actually earned any money from any of these things. His dad is super rich. And then one day he pulls him up and is like, go out and earn some money. And dude can't. So his dad kicks him out. And some things happen, and Banhani and Han Yoo-hyun kind of end up meeting in jail in the most awkward way possible. Which is not necessarily a bad thing, because this makes Banhani see him as a fellow miserable soul. And because she's a kind woman, and also, as she admits herself, the only thing that helps you when you're utterly miserable is to see somebody else who's even more miserable than you. And unfortunately for Han Yoo-hyun, that is how Banhani saw him. So she helped him out. And so there comes this point midway through episode 2 where she's basically paying for and boarding both of these delinquents, her younger self and the homeless Chebo. Okay, going back to the homeless Chebo thing, I have thoughts. See, we've seen this happen before, right? Daddy's finally like, you know, I've spoiled you all your life. Now you go out and make something of yourself. We've seen this since, I don't know, Coffee Prince, when poor Hangul had to go and get a coffee shop to actually start making profit, or he was going to get cut out of his inheritance. Like it's something that grandparents and fathers have done over generations in Korean dramas. Apparently, for the first 30 years, he was fine with pretty much neglecting his child as he wasted his life. But then on the 30th year, his dad was like, no, I must now make him suffer. I am not in favor of this type of parenting. Why not be strict with your child throughout? Maybe kind of don't just hand him a credit card and be like, I'll check in on you 10 years later. Let's see what you have done. And it turns out what his father has been doing is keeping a briefcase full of all the receipts that he's amassed through all of the different things that he spent his money on. And now his dad's like, you gotta pay me back. There's a life lesson in here that I am not getting. Anyway, so that's the situation he's in. And let's see, what else did I miss? Ooh, his brother. His cousin brother, actually. Who's probably his aunt's, his paternal aunt's children. The reason it's important is because the paternal aunt seems to be suspect. Like, she initially seems to be super fond of our hero here, Yoo-hyun. But after a while, you see that she's the type who begrudges her daughter-in-law showing up her son in the corporate offices. Like, she doesn't like it that her son is being overshown by the woman he married. The son doesn't seem to mind though. So the cousin seems okay, the aunt seems suspicious, and the sister-in-law seems cool, who's, by the way, Kim Yumi. She's the actress from Romance is a Bonus Book, the really strict director of the publishing house who wouldn't let Dani participate in the that whole marketing thing. Actually turned out to be pretty neat, but she was one of those people who were like really buy the book. She actually seems younger in this drama somehow. Hasn't it been a few years since that one? Anyway, the point is, she seems to be a really cool character here. I like her. And also, I realized that I just really like her face. There's just something about her face that I really like. I don't think I have anything else that I want to cover, Jack. I have in my notes here that Kim Young Kwan can do puppy face really well. So, he can. Indeed, he can. Other than that, there is this one other actor that I haven't spoken about. So, he is Van Honey's old schoolmate, played by, as an adult, played by the actor Yoon Mun-suk. This guy used to be a school bully, had a huge crush on Van Honey, got rejected, and is now a really famous actor who's obsessed with his face and with his kind of dying fame and just refuses to admit that he's not as popular as he used to be before. He has a past connection with Van Honey, and if the previews, listen, I don't want to spoil the next week's episodes for you guys, but who doesn't watch previews? So it seems to me that Yoo-hyun, our hero, might also have a childhood connection with our heroine. Is anybody surprised? This is a romantic K-drama. Okay, so that's it. That's my entire recap and my thoughts. If you guys got something out of it, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. If I am still watching this drama, I haven't made up my mind yet.